The last Christmas gift. What if the gift that breaks your heart becomes the key to your freedom? The marble floor felt cold beneath my legs as I sat cross-legged, staring at the small envelope in my hands. Around me, the Gilson family mansion sparkled with Christmas lights, each bulb reflecting off surfaces that cost more than most people's cars. Everything was perfect, pristine, and suffocating. My name is Emma Gilson, and at 21 I should have felt grateful. But gratitude was the last thing on my mind as I watched my 25-year-old sister Sophia squeal with delight over the keys to her brand-new red Porsche 911. "Oh my God, Daddy, it's perfect!" Sophia threw her arms around our father, Richard Gilson, whose face beamed with pride. "I can't wait to drive it to the Hamptons." I opened my envelope. Inside was a $50 gift card to a used bookstore and a handwritten note from Mother about the value of knowledge and humility. $50 for Christmas, from parents who had just gifted my sister a car worth more than my college tuition. "Emma, darling, you look confused," Mother said with condescension. Eleanor Gilson was everything a society wife should be: beautiful, well-educated, and completely ruthless beneath her polished exterior. "I thought you'd appreciate something practical. You're always talking about being independent." Independent, their code word for my rebellion against their predetermined path. While Sophia had been groomed to marry well and maintain the family's social status, I had chosen engineering. I worked 3 jobs to pay my own way through college, refusing their money after they made it clear that financial support came with strings attached. Besides, Sophia added with a laugh, like breaking glass, "It's not like you need a car for your little coffee shop job, right? The subway is adequate for people in your situation." My situation, as if working for my education was shameful. "Actually," I said, standing abruptly, the gift card falling to the floor. "I worked 60-hour weeks this semester to pay my tuition while maintaining a 3.9 GPA. I think that deserves more than $50 and a lecture about humility." The room fell silent. Father's expression hardened. "Emma, that's enough," he said sharply. "If you insist on this stubborn independence phase, you need to accept the consequences. Sophia has always been responsible with our investments in her future." "Investments?" I laughed bitterly. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like favoritism, dressed up in financial jargon." "Maybe if you'd chosen a suitable major," Mother interjected, "something in liberal arts, we could have supported your choices. But engineering? Really, Emma, it's so masculine." That was the moment something inside me snapped. I looked around at these people who shared my DNA but felt like strangers. "You want to know the difference between Sophia and me?" I asked, my voice steady despite the earthquake in my chest. "She's content to be your decoration, your success story to parade at charity galas. But I'm building something real." Sophia's laugh was sharp. "Oh, please, Emma. You think slopping coffee for hipsters makes you some kind of revolutionary? You're still Daddy's little girl, whether you admit it or not." I stared at her, really seeing her for the first time. The perfect makeup, the designer everything, the complete absence of anything she'd earned herself. She was 25 and had never held a real job, never paid a bill, never faced consequences. "You're right about one thing," I said quietly. "I am Daddy's little girl, but not anymore." I walked out, my footsteps echoing on marble. In my room, I moved with mechanical precision. Clothes in my old backpack, laptop, the few personal items that actually meant something. I wrote a note. "I'm tired of begging for scraps of love from people who see me as a problem to be managed. Don't look for me." The Toyota Corolla I'd bought with my own money started on the 3rd try. As I pulled out of the driveway, I could see the Porsche gleaming under security lights, a red symbol of everything I was leaving behind. The drive to Brooklyn took 2 hours, giving me time to solidify my resolve. Madison answered the door in paint-splattered pajamas, her purple hair at odd angles. She took one look at my backpack and stepped aside without a word. "Emergency evacuation," I said, sinking into her second-hand couch. "About time," she said without missing a beat. "That family's been toxic since I met you. Job openings sound good?" That was Madison. Practical, loyal, and completely unimpressed by my family's wealth. The next weeks blurred together in applications and interviews. Madison helped me find work at Grind Coffee, an art gallery disguised as a cafe in Williamsburg. I also secured an internship at Sustainable Design Solutions, a small architecture firm specializing in green building projects. My supervisor, James Wright, was a soft-spoken man who had left corporate to focus on environmentally responsible design. He treated me like a colleague rather than a student. "You have good instincts," he told me after I presented sketches for a community center renovation. "Have you considered switching to architecture full-time?" Meanwhile, my family moved through predictable stages of grief. First came worried calls, which I ignored. Then angry voicemails from Father about responsibilities. Mother tried emotional manipulation, claiming my absence affected her health. Sophia's messages were pure venom. After 2 weeks, they tried a different approach. Father had someone call suggesting my Toyota ownership might be questionable since it was purchased with money from a summer job at his company. I called them back directly. Really, Dad? You're going to sue me for a 10-year-old Corolla? Just come home. We can work this out like adults. Adults don't threaten their children over cars worth less than mother's weekly shopping budget. 2 months later, Sophia appeared at Grind Coffee during afternoon rush, impossible to miss in designer coat and heels. Well, she said, approaching the counter with that familiar smirk. The prodigal daughter, slinging coffee. How very noble. I finished the customer's order before acknowledging her. What do you want, Sophia? Just checking on my little sister, though I have to say, the uniform is quite a fashion statement. Very authentic working class. Did you want to order something, or are you just here to practice condescension? I'll take coffee. Something simple, since complexity isn't your forte anymore. She leaned against the counter. Seriously, how long are you planning this up? The novelty must be wearing off. You know Mother cries about you every morning? Actual tears, Emma. Does she blame herself for the $50 Christmas gift too? God, you're so dramatic. It was symbolic about appreciating what you have. And the Porsche was what, exactly? A symbolic gesture about automotive excellence? Sophia's mask slipped, revealing something uglier. The Porsche was a reward for 4 years of perfect behavior, for not embarrassing the family with blue-collar careers and shabby apartments, for being the daughter they could be proud of. And there at Island, the truth under all the pretty words. She realized she'd said too much, but doubled down. You want the truth? You've always been difficult, Emma. The one who questioned everything, who couldn't just be grateful. Do you know how exhausting it is watching you constantly reject everything our family built? I untied my apron and walked around the counter. You want to know what I've learned? I don't need your approval, or father's money, or mother's conditional love. I can survive just fine without any of you. This isn't real, Emma. This whole thing is just rebellion against our parents. Eventually, you'll need real security, real opportunities. She accidentally knocked over her coffee cup, splashing hot liquid across the counter and onto my uniform. For a split second, her face showed genuine remorse, but then she laughed. Oops, guess you'll need to change uniforms. Again. Something cold and final settled in my chest. I picked up a glass of ice water and threw it directly in her face. The cafe went completely silent. Sophia stood there, designer makeup running, ice cubes scattered around her expensive shoes. Get out, I said calmly, and don't come back. You're not welcome in my life anymore. Spring brought new opportunities. James recommended me for a competitive summer program in sustainable architecture. The program was fully funded, meaning I could quit the coffee shop and focus entirely on my new career path. The summer program was intense but exhilarating. I worked on converting an abandoned warehouse into affordable housing. My proposal incorporated rooftop gardens, rainwater collection systems, and solar panels arranged as art installations. When presentation day arrived, I stood before a panel of city planners, environmental advocates, and potential investors. Housing shouldn't be just shelter, I said. It should be a foundation for communities to thrive. This project integrates sustainable technology with human-centered design. One panelist, an older man in an expensive suit, seemed particularly interested. Miss Gilson, your cost estimates seem optimistic. How do you account for the premium typically associated with green building materials? When you factor in long-term energy savings and tax incentives, the initial premium pays for itself within 7 years. After that, residents benefit from significantly lower utility costs. He nodded approvingly. Very interesting indeed. After the presentation, the man introduced himself. Richard Morrison, Morrison Development Group. Your presentation was quite impressive. Have you considered commercial development after graduation? I'm exploring my options. When you're ready to explore more concretely, give me a call. He handed me his card. We're always looking for young talent with fresh perspectives. The summer program led to a full-time offer from Morrison Development Group, contingent on completing my degree. Morrison himself called to make the offer. I've been thinking about your housing project. We have similar opportunities coming up, and your approach could be quite profitable. Sustainable development is the future, Miss Gilson. It was more money than I'd ever dreamed of making. I accepted immediately. The next 2 years passed in a blur of classes, internships, and increasingly complex projects. I moved into a small studio apartment entirely my own, buying furniture piece by piece with money I'd earned. My family made half-hearted attempts at contact, a birthday card with no personal message, a formal invitation to Sophia's engagement party, which I didn't attend, a brief email from Mother about Father's high blood pressure. I didn't call. By graduation, I had been completely written out of their narrative. The official program listed Madison Chen as my emergency contact, not my parents. Morrison Development Group threw a party in my honor when I officially joined as junior architect. Morrison pulled me aside afterward. Emma, the housing project you designed, we're breaking ground next month. The city approved it unanimously. That's incredible. There's more. The project has attracted additional investors, including significant family money from the Upper East Side, Gilson Holdings, among others. Richard Gilson himself will be joining the investment group. My stomach clenched. He doesn't know, does he, that I'm involved? The paperwork lists you as E. Gilson, project architect. Should I clarify the situation? I thought for a moment, imagining Father's face when he realized his wayward daughter had designed the project he was investing millions in. Let it be a surprise. 3 weeks later, I stood in a conference room on the 40th floor, waiting for the investment meeting. Through floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see the construction site where my design was taking shape. The investors filed in gradually, all men over 50 in expensive suits. Father was the last to arrive, walking with confident stride, his hair grayer than I remembered. Gentlemen, Morrison began, thank you for coming. Before we discuss financials, I'd like you to meet the architect whose vision made this possible. Emma? I stood slowly, hands steady despite the earthquake in my chest. Good afternoon. My name is Emma Gilson, and I'm the lead architect for Riverside Commons. The reaction was immediate. Father's face went through confusion, recognition, shock, and finally something that might have been pride or horror. Emma? He whispered. Hello, Father. Thank you for your interest in my project. For 30 minutes, I walked them through every aspect of my design. Father said nothing during my presentation, but I could feel his eyes constantly on me. When questions began, one investor asked, Miss Gilson, this is ambitious for someone so young. What gives you confidence you can deliver? Before I could answer, Father spoke for the first time since my introduction. Emma has always been ambitious, and she's never failed to deliver on a promise. The meeting concluded with commitments from all investors, including a significant increase in Father's contribution. As others filed out, Father lingered. Emma, could we talk? Morrison stepped outside, leaving us alone with the panoramic city view. You look good, Father said awkwardly. Healthy. Successful. I am successful, no thanks to you. He winced. I owe you an apology. You owe me a lot of things. An apology is just the beginning. When you left, I thought you were making the biggest mistake of your life. Now I realize I was the one making the mistake. I was so focused on protecting you from failure that I never gave you the chance to succeed on your own terms. I remained standing. It's been 3 years without a single call, without any interest in what I was doing, and now, when you find out I've created something valuable, you want to apologize? It's not about the project, it's about you, about the woman you've become. The woman I always was. You just couldn't see her past your own expectations. He nodded slowly. I'm sorry for the Christmas gifts, for dismissing your dreams, for trying to force you into a mold that was never right for you. And Sophia, Mother, are they sorry too? His expression darkened. Your mother has had difficulty accepting she might have been wrong, and Sophia's engagement fell through. Her fiancé was more interested in family money than in her. I felt a flicker of sympathy, quickly overwhelmed by 3 years of accumulated resentment. That doesn't change anything between us. I'm not asking you to forgive and forget. I'm asking for a chance to know the woman you've become, to be proud of you for the right reasons. I looked out at the city, at the construction site where my vision was becoming reality. I don't need your pride, Father. I don't need your money or your connections or your approval. I've built something real, something mine, and that's enough. I know it is, but maybe it could be enough for both of us. 6 months later, I stood on the rooftop garden of Riverside Commons, watching families move into their new homes. The solar panels gleamed like art installations, the water features bubbled softly, and children played in spaces I had designed specifically for their laughter. Madison found me there, holding a newspaper with my photo on the front page of the business section. Youngest architect to win the Sustainable Design Award, she read aloud. Not bad for a coffee shop dropout. I smiled, taking the paper from her hands. The headline read, Emma Gilson, Building the Future, One Community at a Time. My phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. Saw the article, proud of you, Dad. For the first time in 3 years, I didn't delete it immediately. Instead, I saved it, not as forgiveness, but as acknowledgement that some gifts, even the ones that break your heart, can become the foundation for something beautiful. The last Christmas gift my family gave me wasn't $50 or a lecture about humility. It was the freedom to discover who I really was when I stopped trying to be who they wanted me to be. And that, it turned out, was worth everything.